Hey dancers! I've been trying to take this video since earlier. Today we're going to be sewing a new pair of pointe shoes. And I am cutting up some ribbon for this shoe. So I'm gonna cut this up before we start sewing. And I don't know, I really need to fix this room so that I can do more videos in it. I feel so embarrassed that it's so messy in there. So we just need like 4 of these. Ta-da! And for some reason I have loads of mesh garter. I have no idea why. That's how vloggers do it, right? Normally I get around 4 inches of these. And there we go. So today's topic is going to be about YGP or our YAGP experience. Now, I'm really happy that it happened in the Philippines. If you guys are new to ballet and you don't know anything about YAGP, YGP stands for Youth American Grand Prix, and it's a ballet competition. It's one of the more known in the world. There are a lot more competitions that are, of course, different. I feel like YAGP is the most standard of all of them, wherein it's like the basic of how do you call this? The basic of all the hard ones, because there are a lot of well-known ones also. And there are smaller competitions depending on your level if you want to join some small ones just for performance opportunities, especially those dancers who are looking to go more serious. YAGP, I think, is like the baseline of what you want to join and what you want to try. But again, it always doesn't mean that if you don't win that you're not good. So we're gonna talk about the scoring also, sorry, while I'm doing this. And then we're also going to talk about what it can help you with, and then what you should aim for maybe. And so I talked about this in the last vlog, which is the goals of each competition, and you know, like what it helps you do, and what it helps you develop also as a dancer. I think it's very important to join these things, and I'm gonna talk like a ballet teacher, because going into this, honestly, I never thought of joining YGP. And then later on, as I thought more about it, I get why more serious teachers want to get involved in little things like competitions. It's not really to win or to get an award or to have anything except the experience for their dancer, because I think that the dancer does grow from these small or little experiences. Again, I was saying YGP is like the most basic out of all of the more serious competitions. So if they're like higher level ones, I think YGP would be the most the easiest to join for anyone. There's anyone can join it. There's no like elimination process, unlike competitions like Prix de Lausanne, if you look them up, or other competitions. They do have like an audition process, or a process where you have to get in first the video audition before you actually join, whereas YAGP actually allows just anyone to join, which I think is a great opportunity for any dancer who's looking to get stage time to find out if they like the stage or don't like the stage or not. And going into it as a teacher, I just want to share this because I think as a teacher, I want to share to those teachers who are also eyeing to join competitions, not to be so scared about putting your dancers out there, as long as you trust what your training is. I think, I guess it depends on what kind of teacher you are. But for me, who's looking to train more serious dancers, I was really happy to have joined this because it really did push me out of my comfort zone. And not just as a teacher, but also, like as someone teaching, it got me thinking about how I can train, and I was able to watch some classes as well. So it was a great experience all in all. I'm always into the more serious kind of teaching rather than just like teaching nonsense of anything, because I'm an educator. So I always believe that I have to be teaching the right things to my students, regardless of their age or their capabilities. I want to be teaching the right thing. Oh, I pricked myself. So anyway, let's go into like just the simple stuff, because a lot of people asked if we won or, like what happened. But I was saying, no, we didn't actually place. But my kids did score like between like the 90s and the 80s. I think it was a good experience because they got to gauge and see where they are in their level also, and to see who they were with like in the country. It was nice. I think that's another thing to consider, is you can always look at where you are as a dancer and also as a performer in your level in the country. So you get to gauge like how you are as a dancer in the country itself, now that you see who all your competitors are also within the region. I mean, it's scary, but at the same time, again, if you want to know where you are, it's a great way to do that. And then you also get to gauge if this is something you like to do or something you don't really enjoy doing. Because again, there are plenty of dancers who become successful even without competition or even without winning competitions. So I think this was another great way for the kids to experience that. And I had a lot of students come out more confident even if they didn't win. And they love dancing even more. For some reason, they love the stage. Let's go through the scoring, because this is something that I didn't not expect, I guess, as a teacher, is that they just score artistry and technique 50-50. So if you are a teacher and you are looking into going into YAGP and you're interested into how things are scored, I think that's one thing that's really interesting to me, is that technique and artistry are 50-50. And so if you actually score better in one, you actually score well, like for those people who don't really have such good technique, I'm not saying they're bad, but then they have more artistry, like they evoke more emotion out, then you can focus on that strength. I mean, like, of course you have to focus on both. Transitions were one thing that were my pet peeve, just watching as a teacher. And the experience in itself was really nice. I made sure that the kids were well prepared, that the kids were in proper makeup, the kids had good costumes. So I think that's the whole experience that I really wanted them to have. I mean, being in the pandemic after this, I mean, like, we are still in the pandemic, but being in this pandemic situation after 2 years, I really wanted to give the kids like this opportunity to just have some stage time and to see where they are as dancers. But like, it gave them more confidence to perform, which is all I really wanted as a teacher. The event itself, I would have to say, wasn't as organized as I really wanted it to, but the organizer, Miss Rebecca King of the YGP Regional, was really kind enough to answer all of my queries. I think it was really hard for YAGP Philippines to do any logistics because I mean, we haven't had anything like this ever. And so they had a really hard time coordinating the time. They didn't have schedules up. They didn't even have an orientation. And I think it was really just their first time. And so I hope that in the next years they could address these little things and problems also, you know, but I'm sure they will. And there was like a lack in like letting people know what would happen next. So there were some dancers and even some staff who were asking me, because I was always at the backstage, what the schedule was when I was the teacher here, right? So of course I didn't know what the schedule was. I was just guiding my kids based on whatever they gave me. Actually, the schedule came about 3 days before the actual performance, and then it wasn't exactly the most complete schedule, and then they had changed it for some reason, and then I didn't get the changed schedule, and they were wondering why, but then I said, well, I didn't get it. But otherwise, I think the kids had a great experience based on everything that we planned. I just made sure that there was someone always with us, and we had loads of fun. That's all I can say. I think it's really the experience when it comes to YGP, especially when it comes to these regional things. It gives you the opportunity to come out of your shell, to perform, to see what you like. Okay, what else maybe can I give you as a tip if you were a teacher looking into this? Mind the transitions, and also they actually don't count off. That's my clock, sorry. They actually don't count off falls. And second, I didn't know that they don't count off points for not wearing point shoes. So I actually was hoping to put 2 of my students on flats, but I didn't know because under rules it's actually a little bit unclear, and I'll post it up here right now. So it says on the rules that, you know, like when you're 11 and something like that, whatever it was, but that, oy, this doesn't go in. Like, oh wow, why doesn't it go in? Sorry. So if you're 11 and above, something like this, you don't, when you're 11 and below, you don't have to wear point shoes, which I completely understand. And then 2 of my kids had just turned 13 and 14, but they came out of the pandemic. I was hoping they could be on flats. But when I had messaged the organizer, they just sent me the rule. I understood it as if you were above 11, you should be on point shoes. So I understood it wrong. Apparently, if you are in the junior level and you don't wear point shoes, they don't count that off as points. That's how she explained it. So I was thinking, oh, had I known that, I actually would have put 1 of my or 2 of my students on flat instead, because there were girls competing with them on flat who had placed, which for me was a bit sad, because some of the girls were also saying, you mean to say it's okay? And, you know, like just those little things were a bit unclear. So those are just some tips for you teachers, just in case your students aren't ready. They don't count off the juniors' points. Of course, it's nicer to perform on point shoes, but I think if they're not ready, it's best to just keep them on flat also. So yeah, I mean, like, that's my next tip for you teachers, and also for you dancers who are hesitating because you have not enough point work that's like strong yet. I mean, I don't know if it's the same case if you're going to be performing in the more bigger YAGP areas, because I'm sure that it would be embarrassing maybe to perform on flat. I don't know. I don't think you should see it like that. I think it's just your level of dancing is different maybe. Otherwise, I think it was a great opportunity for the kids. That being said, after the YGP experience, we had to also, of course, gauge ourselves based on how other countries were, because I said this is now the standard here, which is great. I got a lot of comments that, you know, of course, if we compare to other countries, we still have a long way to go. That's the best way to say it. But I think it's also great kind of learning experience for everyone as a country and as a whole to grow a bit more and to really represent the country a lot better. I got some fans from Singapore saying hi, which if you are watching my vlogs, thank you so much. I really appreciated it, especially Jian Dancer. The mom was really nice to me, who approached me. I hope that I can have a booth next year in YGP. This year, they actually didn't entertain any of my emails. I think they were really just busy. And I was hoping that I could get sponsorship to the event because I really love, you know, anything ballet that would help the community here in the Philippines. Anyway, here you go. My point shoes are my point shoes are done. But those are my tips for YGP if you are planning to join next year here in the Philippines. I think just be prepared and be open to your corrections. They actually gave really nice corrections also, and they also left us comments which I asked for. And don't forget that the scoring is 50-50 for technique and artistry. So going into this, I think like there's 100 ways this could go, and you can always see it as it's really subjective, because what I noticed was that the dancers were scoring higher for those people they liked in artistry, and then the teachers were scoring more for the technique, which I completely understand because I'm sure each teacher has their own pet peeve, so it becomes subjective because of that. So there are teachers who look more for like the dancing quality, who don't care much about, or the dancers who don't care much about like the small mistakes. But then I think teachers, like for example myself, I would look at the transitions. I really hate it when compromised alignment and things like this just really bother and upset me, of course, as a teacher. But I think that is totally normal if you were a teacher. And I think my eye has changed when I became a teacher versus when I was a dancer, because I definitely see things differently now, where I want to stop every single movement. But then if you were a dancer, of course, you know, like you want to perfect things, but there comes a time when you just have to let go and just dance. So I think that's a balance of both, as long as the audience is enjoying. I think it's just that, and if you really enjoy what you're doing, I think that's what's most important, even as a teacher or as a dancer. I think that's where we should place ourselves. I hope. But yeah, hold on. But I do hope that you enjoy learning about my experience. It was my first YGP, and you grow more, you enjoy, you also start to enjoy the stage. So I think it was a great opportunity, not just for us, but for other dancers out here after the long pandemic life inside our houses, because we had a whole almost 2.5 years at home, and then finally being on a big stage, it was a great experience. With that being said, of course, there are so many things that can improve, but I'm sure it will. But having it in the Philippines was really great. I hope that the standard of dancing also starts to get challenged a bit more also, and that we push ourselves a bit more as a country to really grow strong dancers technically and artistically, and have them really fly out. Especially for those who really want good training. I mean, at the end of the day, we just want to train dancers well, regardless of if they will be professional or not. I don't want to create dancers who are, I mean, dancing for hobby but are not, like, they don't know what the basics are. You know, we want to educate dancers. That's why we became educators. So that's just my point of view. But I hope you enjoyed this sewing point shoes with teacher and talking. Today is about YGP and my YGP regionals experience here in the Philippines. Again, I hope that you learned something new here, and this is Teacher Lina of Dance by Lina and Studio Dance by Lina. Hope to see you on the next vlog. Bye, dancers!